Okay, so I haven't... Okay. This is a nightmare I may not be ready to live through.
I started getting crushes on boys.
Real embarrassed about this.
My mouth gets the best of me pretty much all the time.
Okay, I'm just like, how do... Okay. All right.
There we go.
You're listening to We Still Like You, the embarrassing storytelling show. I'm Jesse Batend.
I'm Danny Gallegos.
If you're like a hardcore listener to the podcast, if you've been listening for a long time, then you've probably heard a number of stories by Danny and some by like an anonymous person where it was like, obviously Danny. You can figure it out if you go through them.
Oh.
But she's here, and she's one of the original creators of the show, and she's going to be hosting with me today, which is amazing. Before we jump into our first story, I was wondering, Danny, how do you feel about roller coasters?
Okay, so I have kind of a complicated relationship with roller coasters. For all of my childhood, I was super, super afraid of them. I would go to like field trips to Six Flags, and I was always just like, I will hold everybody's bags. They're too big.
I'm the same way.
They're too big.
No, I completely feel the same way. I feel like I've had a lot of trouble bonding with the male people in my life, very specifically my uncle, and it's not for lack of trying on his part. Most kids would love this, but he was like, come on, dude, let's go. We're going to Six Flags. Like, he tried so hard to share this thing that he loved with me. He took me to Six Flags, and I was petrified. I was so scared of going on like even the smallest roller coaster, but I didn't want to like disappoint him, you know? So I like was just like, I'm gonna like grit my teeth and I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna go on these rides. And I think I made it through like one, and he could just tell like I wasn't having a good time.
Oh.
There's nothing about the experience that's like appealing to me.
The world is scary. I don't need to make myself scared for fun.
Needless to say, this entire episode is kind of extra scary for both of us, I think, because it has to do with not just roller coasters, but the other
roller coaster.
Love. Today is all about confessing you have feelings for somebody and dealing with first romances. Love and roller coasters is today's episode. All right, so this episode, we have two stories, both dealing with
horrifying things.
Yes, exactly. And our very first story comes to you from Louisville. With no further ado, here is Melissa Doran.
I'm really bad at relationships. Not like with my family, even though that one would say that I wasn't that good. Not with my family, or like I have kids and that's pretty cool, but like intimate relationships, I'm not good. I have like trust issues, and I'm not that. I don't know why that's funny. I guess people can just tell by how much I say fuck. I don't know. So here's the thing, guys. I make bad choices. I'm an older gal. I like to date. My new thing is dating single dads. And with single dads, it's tough because they don't have a lot of time, but that's what I really like about them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's cute to date a single dad because they have like kids. That's the whole dad part of it. And they're so cute, and the kids, and like this recent dude had this little kid, and she comes up excited. Dad walks out of the room, and she's so excited. And she's like, she's asking me my name, and she's got like bows in her hair, and she's got chutes and ladders, and she's like, are we gonna hang out? And I'm like, oh my God. I got like right down on her level, because she's like 7. It's the cutest age ever. And I was like, hey, I'm here to fuck your dad, like, no, we're not gonna hang out, buddy. No. Like, I broke it down, like how a 7-year-old would need. There's one good thing about your dad, kitten, and you're the direct product of it, so scooch along so I can give him a hand job. So that's, I wish that wasn't a true story. Friends are important. I have friends that I've had for very many years, and they're like, Melissa, like, you're such a good person, but you have these intimacy issues. And I was like, where do they come from? So when I get scared and I run, they're always like, don't get on the tilt-a-whirl. That's what they say to me. And I thought about it tonight, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, that's what the fuck that's from. I kind of blocked it out, but that's what that's from. I'm very skittish. I like that first part of dating, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you don't really know who I am, I don't really know who you are. It's fun. But then you start getting into shit, and you're like, shit. Clearly, your mom fucking sucked and my mom sucked, or we wouldn't have dated in the first place. And that's where you get into the hazy part for me, that second stage. So I started this when I was 15. When I was 15, I was a virgin at 15. Yes, I was. I was a huge dork. Yes, thank you. Did someone say, yeah, all right, for a 15-year-old virgin, you fucking weirdo. Just leave it be. So that's 15. My friends were dorks, you know what I mean? Like, we like music and comics and weird shit. So we're 15, no one's fucking, here we are. I grew up in New Jersey. It was kind of like not the bad area, but like a city area. Then my dad got the good job when I was like 13, and we moved to like the bougie bullshit part with all the annoying people. I met this girl, Liz, and she was from the city. So one day, we're friends for 2 years, we're 15, sophomores in high school, she gets a day pass to go to someone else's high school. Have y'all ever done that, where you go visit someone else's high school for the day? Did you do that? Isn't it so fucking cool? It's so fun. You don't have any classes there, you just meet new people. So I go there with her, and we're 15, this dude is 17. He's in woodshop, as he would be. He's in woodshop. 17, junior, second, third time. I didn't care at the time. And his name was Jeff Nicolosi. Jeff Nicolosi, I'll never forget. And he looked just like Anthony Kiedis. And at the time, it was 1993. Don't do the math, you little fuckers. It's 1993. And me and my friends are huge Chili Pepper fans because they were relevant back then somewhat. So we're huge. Wasn't embarrassing to say like it is now back then. So we're huge Chili Peppers fans. And he looks just like him. And he's got the cut-off. I mean, now it's embarrassing to think about, but he's got like the cut-off shorts and the hair and the fucking... Like, he's SoCal, but he's Jersey. It's awful, but I am smitten. I'm obsessed. This fucking guy. He's a musician. He's in woodshop. He's so cool. So him and I exchange information after I leave that day visit. And he writes me letters, and he sends me letters. I'm 15. Are you kidding? I'm fucking, forget it. I'm over the moon. He wrote songs. He would write song lyrics and send them in the mail. One of the songs was Acid Rain. I remember one of the lyrics to Acid Rain went, so you think you know pain? You don't know shit until you felt the acid rain. And I was like, this motherfucker is a genius. I peddled that fucking Acid Rain fucking lyric piece of paper for months. I was like, are you serious? Look at this. Look at this. I was so smitten. But we never hung out, like I'm 15, I'm a sophomore. So I used to go to we have a Meadowlands Fair. It's called the you guys have the Kentucky State Fair? That's a traveling fair, as you can tell by the state of inebriation by the carnies. They've been here, they've been all over the place. They're horrible, drunk, fucking pedophiles. But they get to us first, then they come to you guys. Meadowlands Fair was the big shit for me. We were big dorks. We loved to go to the fair, get the fucking corn dogs, go on the rides, whatever. So my uncle took me and 4 of my friends to the Meadowlands Fair. It was my big birthday gift. I was turning 16. My friends were dorks. Nobody was fucking, like I said. I had one friend, Kristen Valero. She had a photogenic memory. It annoyed the fucking shit out of us, dude, since we were young. She's like, remember that episode of Facts of Life from 1984 when Tootie got her braces off? We'd be like, dude, that was like 10 fucking years ago. What are you talking about? Kristen would go on to go to NYU and be more successful than any of us 20 years later. So give it up for her. Don't feel bad. But at the time, we were like, what a dork. So I showed her one picture one time of Jeff Nicolosi, like months before. It was a Polaroid. We're at the Meadowlands Fair 4 months later. From across the fucking pedway, she's like, that's Jeff Nicolosi. I'll never forget. Time stood still. And amidst the pedophile carnies and the fucking smell of, booze and corn dogs, I look and I see him, and it's Jeff Nicolosi with like a pack of like Pearl Jam wannabe looking motherfuckers. And I'm just like, holy fuck. It is just amazing. Like, I can't even talk. You know what I mean? It's just all hair and all flannel and all failure. And I can't stop. I can't even breathe. I'm so excited. So I'm like, oh my God. So then I'm looking and staring. My friend's like, oh my God, like squealing like virgin 15-year-olds would. Don't get as excited as I think you are over there in the corner. And I'm like freaking out. And then they see us. You know what I mean? They see me, and he's like this, like, hey, it's my friend Melissa. Now, this is the dude I've been building up for 4 months with the Acid Rain lyrics. Are you kidding me? Like, this is a fucking legend. This is David Bowie at this point. I'm like, what am I going to do? He starts walking over to us in his big group, My friend and I start freaking out. Sweating. I'm like, I don't know what to say. I can't do this. My friend's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Stop being a weirdo. You're being really crazy. Just stand here and say hello. And I'm like, okay. They come closer. They're like where you are here on this chair to me, and I freak the fuck out. I turn, there's the tilt-a-whirl right behind me, and I'm like, I gotta go. By myself, I jet to the tilt-a-whirl. By myself. And I get on the tilt-a-whirl. These guys come over to my friends, so they hang for a little while. They're like, what's she doing? So my girl Liz, she's my road dog, she's my fucking, she's my ride or die. She's like, she just really likes the tilt-a-whirl. So Jeff Nicolosi is like, all right, that's weird though. Did she see us coming over? And Liz is like, I'm not really sure, dude. We came over here because she likes the fucking tilt-a-whirl. Don't know if she saw you. Don't know. So I get on the tilt-a-whirl, right? Because I'm like, all right, let's just get your head straight, get yourself in the game. By the way, I'm the only one on the tilt-a-whirl, not on the only cart. In the fucking track, I'm the only one in one cart on the fucking tilt-a-whirl. Right? So I get off the tilt-a-whirl and I look over and they're talking and I freak out again. I get back on the fucking tilt-a-whirl. Back on. Guys, I did this 6 fucking times. This is a true story. By the 6th time, Jeff was like, she really likes that tilt-a-whirl. I'd like to say that I've gained confidence in who I am as a human being and I've let things go about how horrible my parenting was, but this is the deal. I still get on the fucking tilt-a-whirl to this day. I'm like 100 years old. That's it. Just, you know what? That's me. It's my I still get on the tilt-a-whirl story. Someone's got to.
Melissa Doran, everybody.
Yes, I was sick for like 35 fucking minutes. Once they finally walked away, I had vertigo and could hardly, I was gonna puke for like 35 minutes. It was embarrassing, that's for sure. But I held by it. I was like, my friend's like, what'd you do? I was like, I wanted to ride it. They're like, no, that's a lie. You were scared. I wasn't scared. I wasn't.
Were you by yourself for all 6 goes?
I was by myself all 6 goes. At one point, my friend Kristen Valero that went to NYU, she came up to retrieve me from the line. She was like, hey, what are you doing, dude? Because it looks really weird. You've been on this like 3 times. They want to walk on, and you look really weird, and we don't know what to do. I'm like, can you just fucking get on with me right now? We'll look way less weird. She goes, no, dude, it wouldn't. And she walked away. To this day, the ballsiest thing she's ever done. I'm like, I was like, just get on with me, dude. It looks less weird. She goes, no, it doesn't, dude. And she just walked away. And I was like, oh! But I was committed, and I got back on.
Oh, fuck.
Comedian Melissa Doran.
Coming up next, Craig decides if he can't tell a girl that he likes her, he'll just buy her a ticket to Disney World.
Okay, here's the thing that I was going to say while you were introducing all of this, is that the only reason people die at amusement parks is if they don't follow rules.
You mean if they do something like get excited about how magical it is and shout to their friend, hey, look, we're on a spinning... The fact that amusement parks, like roller coasters, these places are even allowed to exist. Like somebody built one and said, like, come, and someone said that's not illegal and let it go, even though like a couple people die a year, right?
Yeah.
And like all of these places, and it's just kind of like you had to fuck up enough times that they figured out that like it's better that you keep your arms inside the ride.
Yeah.
I just wonder how many arms it took. This story also comes to you from Louisville. Here's comedian Craig Williams.
So in high school, I used to have a big crush on a girl. Her name was Erin. And I just, oh man, like she was the one. I was just convinced that we were destined to be with each other. And I, instead of just doing what a normal person would do, like, you know, ask her out or whatever, I had my parents hire her to be a babysitter for us. And when I told my parents about that idea, they were like, Craig, you do realize that you're old. You're the same age as her. You could babysit her. What do we tell her when she asks why you're not the one that's babysitting? And I'd be like, just tell her you can't trust me with children. No. No, I mean, tell her that I almost burned the house down making pizza rolls once. Like, I look like someone who would do that. Like, it's totally convincing. I was like, just tell her whatever you got to tell her. And so they hired her to be a babysitter. And, like, I could have just asked her to hang out, but for some reason, I decided I had to trick her into hanging out with me. But she started coming over to babysit, and it was great. We had a great time hanging out. It was a great opportunity to become, to get closer and to get to know her more. But I was still too chicken shit to like let her know how I feel or anything. So that summer, my family and I were going on a trip to Florida, and we were going to go to Disney World, Universal Studios, the whole works. And then we were going to stay a week at a condo in like Fort Myers or whatever. So it was going to be like this whole Florida trip. And so I thought, hey, I've got a great idea. Why don't I, instead of asking this girl to go on some boring date like the movies or something, why don't I take her on a date to Disney World? And so it's like, go big or go home, right? And so I talked my parents into it. They didn't give a shit, I think they were honestly morbidly curious to see how this would go. Like, I was like, hey, can I bring Aaron to Disney World? I think that they were just like, oh, yeah, of course you can, because this is going to go so badly. So I talked her into it. She was like, sure, I'll go to Disney World. But I don't know if I can afford it. And so I was like, no, I will pay for your way. And so I spent that summer working for my uncle, who was a contractor, working in construction that whole summer, saving up money to take this girl to Disney World. And it was miserable work. I didn't actually do any like construction work. They wouldn't let me anywhere near the house that they were building. So my uncle would literally drop me off at a construction site, and it would be raining and miserable, and he would just point at it and be like, go through here and just pick up all the rocks. Like I was like fucking Fred Flintstone or something. Like, and it was it was miserable. Like it's raining. I'm like shin deep in mud, and I'm just picking up rocks and stacking them up. Well, 2 weeks before the trip, Erin gave me the news that she had met someone at her work that, ironically, she started that job to save up money as well for the Florida trip. So I basically softballed her right into the arms of this guy without knowing it. But she started working in a pizza delivery place, and like she met this guy there, and they started dating. And it was like 2 weeks before the trip. Now I should have been like, oh no, my parents have just suddenly decided the trip's off now. Like I can't take you now. But I was like, I can do this. I can work with this. Like, it's just a phase, right? Like, her dating this guy is just a phase. When I take her to Disney World, like, she won't even remember who this guy was, right? I didn't let it bother me. The day of the trip arrived, and we picked her up from her house, and we started on the trip. And almost immediately, things go bad. Like we're driving, and then like a song comes on the radio, and it's that song by Casey and JoJo, like All My Life. That song, that comes on the radio, and she like reaches over and turns the volume up and announces to everyone in the car, like, oh my God, this is me and Josh's song. And I'm like, you have a song already? It's been 2 weeks and you already have a song? And like, so this sort of thing happened the whole way to Florida. Just whenever this goddamn song would come on, and it did, it was like playing a lot on the radio at that time. She would turn it up and she would sing along to it, and I was just miserable. But I still tried to be optimistic. I was like, okay, we're not at Florida yet. This I can still turn this around. So we get to Disney World. We met our cousins, or my cousins. So I have like 4 cousins. They're all girls. At the time, at the time of this story, they ranged from between the ages of 12 and like 20. And so when this girl showed up with me, they didn't know this was happening. So they were like, "Oh my God, like, is this your girlfriend?" And I was like, and she was like, "No. I'm actually dating a guy back home." Yeah. Someone's like, "God, this gets worse. This gets a lot worse." So they're all like listening to her talk about this great guy back home. Meanwhile, I'm getting glances from them over to me, like quizzical glances, like, "What is your play here?" You know, and they don't understand what's going on. And so she starts sort of hanging out with them, telling them how great this guy is, and like we're literally at some point walking around Disney World that I paid money for her to be at, and it's brutal. Like, and I was at this point I was angry. I started getting angry, and I started giving her the silent treatment. I refused to ride any of the rides. I was being like, and at one point, I was being such a jackass that my dad pulled me aside and said, "Craig, you are being a jackass. You brought this girl all the way to Florida. You're not talking to her. You're not hanging out with her or anything." And I was just like, I didn't care. I was like, whatever, it's fine. She's having a good time. Who cares, And so we do the Disney World thing. We go to Universal, same situation. I'm just like, stone cold the entire time. Then we get to Fort Myers, and I just shut down. Like, I just could not have a good time or even pretend that like I was having a good time. And what was so infuriating is that she seemed oblivious to it. Like she was in Florida. Like, she didn't care. And she would call her boyfriend every night and have like a 1 to 2 hour conversation with him about what a good time she was having in Florida. So one night, she decides to go hang out with my cousins at their condo. They also had a condo at Fort Myers. And so she decides to go hang out with them, and I was relieved. I was like, good. I that's what I need right now, is I need some space. Like, I need to get it together or whatever. So this was actually welcome that she was gone for a night. And then when she got back, I felt better. But when she got back, she apparently she had went out on the beach with my cousins that night to hang out, and got like eaten up by like sand fleas or whatever. Like, her legs were just covered in bites, and she was feeling sick. Just, I don't know if it was from the bites or whatever, but she was just like miserable. Like the tables had turned a little bit. And we got her some like medicine to sort of help her out, and she was like laying on the couch, just miserable. And so it was at this point that I decided it was time. Because I was feeling great. It's time to like let her know how I feel. Because I am good with timing. So she's miserable. I don't know what got into me, but I'm just sitting there and I just go, "Hey, so the reason I invited you to Florida was because I'm really into you. I really like you." And she just snaps at me, "What do you want me to do about it?" And my soul blew away. Do you know like that old footage you see of like atomic bomb testing where the house just blows up? That's what happened to my soul. I mean, I can remember like it was yesterday. What do you want me to do about it? Angry eyes. And I was just like, nothing, I guess. And I just like left the condo and went to the swimming pool. It was like nighttime and the swimming pool was closed, but I jumped the gate. And in a fit of rage, I threw all of the swimming pool furniture into the pool. Yeah. I kicked that pool's ass. I showed that pool. Oh man, I went crazy and I just like sat there for a while and I just sort of emotionally processed what had just happened. And my brother was there. My little brother witnessed the whole thing because he witnessed me talking to her and her saying what she said, and he saw me leave and he was checking on me and he saw me go crazy and throw the stuff in there. And we talked about it, him and I, and I realized I was an idiot for many reasons, but mostly because I chose a horrible time to tell her why I brought her on the trip. It was weird because I kind of needed that. Like it was a cathartic moment to throw all that shit in the pool. Because after that night, I stopped being like miserable and upset. I was able to actually have a better time, weirdly enough, and be more like me and her were a little bit more like we were. Like I guess we got past my hang up or whatever my weirdness was, and we got to be friends again, I guess. But then after we got back from Florida and then the next semester of school started, like I would see her boyfriend drop her off. I think he was at this point a senior, but he was driving. And so I would see her like pull up with her boyfriend and they would walk up and it would make me pissed off every time. Like I would just be so angry every time I saw them together and I was stuck with it, and I just couldn't talk to her. Like I stopped talking to her. I shut down. And she would try to say hello to me in the hall, and I would just be like I would just zone her out. That's kind of my go-to thing when I'm. That's, by the way, my go-to thing when I don't like you, is if you try to talk to me and I'm just staring straight ahead and not saying anything at all. So I don't know if that's too subtle, but. And yeah, that's how it went that whole year pretty much. And then at the end of the year, I was getting people to sign my yearbook, and she grabbed the yearbook at one point, and we were in a class together, and she grabbed it and she signed it, but she like wrote a big letter to me. And more or less the letter was just like telling me how her year went since I hadn't talked to her all year, and then ended the letter with, you can still talk to me, right? But with a happy face. And it melted my heart. It made me feel better. And I started talking to her again. And everything was better again. Like we became friends again. We still talk to this day. I still have a lot of affection for her. But that was a learning experience. To be sure. And so if I would give you any advice tonight, or if I was to give advice to any like teenagers younger than me, if you like someone, just rip that Band-Aid right off. Like just get it over with. Tell them how you feel and just get it over with, whether it goes bad or not. Because even if you pay their way to Disney World, they're still not going to like you if they don't like you. So that's my story.
We still like you. more time for Craig Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
This is sort of a timeline question. So you got babysat and then you held down a construction job, or
You got babysat and then you held down a construction job, sir, and you were the reason movies don't get away with any bullshit. I didn't even catch that.
Comedian Craig Williams. And that does it for this episode of We Still Like You. But that doesn't mean you can't still share your shame with us. You can tweet us a story or tag us on Instagram, and we'll remind you that we like you. And you might even hear your story on a future episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, do us a favor and tell someone about it. You'll never know how much it actually helps. If you really want to do us a solid, sign up to support the show on Patreon. A couple bucks a month helps us make the show better and gets you something cool. If you want to tell a story at one of our live shows, check out the submission page. You can find that at westilllikeyou.com. Find us on Facebook to get tickets to shows. We're on Instagram at We Still Like You. We tweet at We Still Like You. A huge shout out to We Still Like You original creators Dan Sheehan, Danny Gallegos, Tyler Snodgrass, and J. Michael Osborne. Without their horrible behavior, we'd never have a show. I'm Jesse Batend, and as always, thanks for being your terrible selves.